Hello and welcome to the sideboard here at the Legacy Open in Milwaukee. I'm Glenn Jones here with Caleb Durward. Caleb, you've brought another brew to Legacy here. I know you talked to me yesterday a little bit about Standstill and how you thought it was going to be a good card in the format again. Merfolk performed at the Invitational, seemed like kind of a time to play the Standstills, basically.
Correct.
You, however, have gone a significantly different direction from Merfolk in this deck. In fact, you have no creatures. Did you register an LOL on your sheet, or no?
An LOL?
In your creatures column.
Oh, no. I did run out of space in the spells column, though.
Oh, wow, that's a whole new problem
bleeding
entirely.
over, right? First world problems. Too many sweet spells to play.
There are a lot of sweet spells. So why don't you run through us this deck, in your own words, Black-Blue Landstill.
Well, Landstill is a pretty old archetype. Basically, you want to get a standstill down, and then that forces the opponent to interact in some fashion. They have to break the standstill because you have man lands and they don't.
Right.
You're basically the better lands deck than they are, which is why you play cards like Crucible of Worlds to apply pressure. Like you can apply the Wasteland Crucible soft lock in that way. And then in case that doesn't come together, in case you don't have the standstills or what have you, the rest of the deck is a pretty typical Planeswalker control deck. We have Liliana, we have Jace, and then we have a pile of cards that keep the opponent from killing us on turn one. We have Thoughtseize, Stifle, Innocent Blood. It's just a whole bunch of cards to slow down the game, let me play Standstill, win.
The goal is to interact really cheaply on turn 1 or 2 and then drop the standstill once.
Right.
They probably just don't have a response.
Right, and then
especially.
have more powerful cards than them for when they break it with something, so you can like come over the top of it after that point with the Liliana and the Jace and the Crucible. Ways of just like grinding out advantage.
Sure. I know that you have liked Planeswalker control decks in the past. You played a Tezzeret deck that had similar principles. I think rather than force someone into a standstill lock here, that deck used Chalice of the Void to sort of
different
wrangle
soft
the
locks.
game. Yeah, but same basic principle. Did you pull from that shell when you were thinking about how to update this deck?
Well, it's just, I mean, that's just magic theory. Like a Planeswalker is pressure against a creature deck, a control deck, and a combo deck. It's just a better threat than anything else you could be running.
That makes perfect sense. All right, well, what kind of a matchup are you hoping to face with this particular version of Landstill? And what are you hoping to dodge?
Sneak and Show is a very good matchup.
Okay.
I like most of the matchups against the fair decks. They're not really prepared to deal with Standstill anymore. They don't really know what to do.
Sure.
I played against Jund earlier, and both games ended with my Jund opponent having no lands. That was nice.
Pretty easy.
Right. I don't really want to play against Omniscience because they're much more can win the turn they cast Show and Tell than Sneak and Show is. And the round that I lost on camera, my opponent played a Jace in game 1. And I was sitting there with Jaces in my hand, and he could just play it faster because he was on the play and he had City of Traders, and I was just dead. Like, I don't want to run into that. It's less common in Sneak and Show. It shows up sometimes, but it's usually more of a board card there. The Esperblade matchup isn't bad. I usually split games with Esperblade, but Lingering Souls is bad. Lingering Souls is a hard card to beat, but the rest of the deck is not hard to beat.
Sure, I see that you have a few answers to it in your deck. If Damnation obviously is a mediocre one, but can handle it, and Echoing Truth, I guess.
Well, you need it. Like, you can't just like Innocent Blood away
obviously.
A pile of Lingering Souls. You need to Damnation or Echoing Truth. That was one of the reasons I added Echoing Truth to the main.
Okay. Do you find yourself frequently forced to erase Lingering Souls? With your
sometimes that comes up, yeah. Sometimes you get into this grindy mid-game and you're like, oh, so you fetched more than me, so I can actually just kill you before those 1/1s kill me. All right. And sometimes they also have to like pressure a Planeswalker with the Lingering Souls, which can let you get a hold of and let you get ahead in the race.
Makes total sense. Well, I think we've covered the main deck pretty thoroughly. Let's move over to the sideboard. You have some pretty conventional options for some of your sideboard cards. The Leyline of the Voids are just, your graveyard hit card of choice, as it were.
Right.
Some Engineered Plagues, Lingering Souls, no doubt, I assume.
Well, I bring in like 1 against Esperblade. I don't know if I want to draw a 2 ever, so.
That's fair, okay.
I'm a greedy man. I'll draw it.
You've got Fluster Storms for your combo matchups.
Fluster Storm's great.
And what about these Pithing Needles? I know you put them to use a little bit in the feature match.
Right, and that was an incorrect use of Pithing Needle in this deck, especially since I already had a Stifle. It was bad naming that net fetch land, but I screwed up earlier in the game. Anyway, Needle's main role is to name Aether Vial against, say, Merfolk, so you don't just get shut out of the game that way.
Okay.
You can also name stuff like Sneak Attack against the Needles make the Sneak and Show matchup pretty good post board. I'd like them a lot.
All right. You've got a Singleton Dark Blast, which is a card that is reasonably favored among Legacy players.
People underestimate Dark Blast. They play it a lot by itself, or when they're playing like a loam deck where they can like dredge into it for occasional value. I really like combining it with Engineered Plague, because it gives you a way of answering their one-drop, say like Goblin Lackey, so you don't just lose. And then once you have a Plague down, you can combine the Dark Blast to get rid of X2s, so you don't just lose to a pile of Goblin Pile Drivers or War Chiefs.
That's, I think, a lesser observed synergy, but certainly exists.
Right.
And then here at the bottom, you've got a few interesting spells that I wouldn't really have expected. You have a Singleton Hymn to Torok.
Sure.
So what's its role?
That's mostly to come in for when, say, Innocent Blood is dead in the matchup. So I want to pull it in Innocent Blood. I want something that comes in. Usually if Innocent Blood is bad, something that attacks a hand is good. Just made sense. I used to have 2 in the board, but a buddy convinced me to cut one for a Vendilion Click, which might help me pressure a combo opponent better.
Which is the other one of those strange spells. The only creature in your 75.
Right.
And a pretty good one. Does play the discard role. So the hymns I have taken are like the best weapon for bug decks against combo, and it seems like you can actually leverage a fair bit more advantage out of it when they're not going to have answers like Liliana's Sanctity.
Right, it helps me get them hellbent so that the Liliana soft lock is an actual soft lock. The show and tell decks need 2 cards to combo off. They need show and tell and whatever they're putting into play. If they have no cards in hand, they can't actually win the game.
Worth noting, the last card, we don't see it show up in Legacy very often, for sure. Personal favorite, though. I enjoy it very much. Smallpox. So what's the role of the Smallpox? Obviously, it's a disruptive card, but what specific matchups? Why Smallpox over that other cards?
Sure. Well, I already have 4 Innocent Bloods, so it's not like I can run a 5th Innocent Blood. But if I could, it would be Smallpox, which I can. So it is. Anyway, Smallpox can handle creatures like Nimble Mongoose with Hexproof, which is pretty awesome. It also attacks the mana base, which is good because I'm a Wasteland Crucible deck. So it also attacks the hand, and I've got all this discard. So it just has tremendous synergy with the deck. It might be correct to like main deck 1 or 2, but then it starts to interfere with the blue count for Force of Will.
Right. Yeah, you are a little light on that. Although you do have a lot of card draw to kind of help make up for it.
This is
really,
true.
I think you need the counter magic and the blue spells even before the standstill rather than after.
Right, yeah, exactly.
All right, well, how have you started off the Legacy Open today?
I'm X-1 so far. We've had 5 rounds. So
I think that's about right, yeah.
4-1.
All right, well, a fine start. Good luck with the rest of your day, Caleb. Thanks for joining me.